Cordial's WSST, because local matters.
The J.W. Williams Funeral Directors have been proudly serving the people of this community since 1918. Service is our motto. The poor, the rich, the middle class, and all are given the best of care and attention at all times. You have the privilege to select what you want. In your time of need, contact the capable, the competent, and the dependable staff of the J.W. Williams Funeral Home who is genuinely concerned with your care. At J.W. Williams Funeral Home, you are aptly served by the proprietor president, Deacon Arthur L. Parker, who continues the traditions and values set forth by the past president, Dr. Napoleon Williams. Your announcements for the J.W. Williams Funeral Home Sunday morning program are Deacon Arthur L. Parker, Reverend Isaac H. Owens, Mrs. Calandra Wilkerson Parker, Minister Frankie Harmon, Miss Sandra Johnson, and Deacon Earl Clark, Jr.
Thank you, and good morning, friends. We come to you this morning to bring announcements, dedications, and songs. We certainly hope that your day may be brighter after listening to our program. The family of Mr. Roy C. Williams, Jr. of Americus, Georgia. The family of Mr. Gary Mitchell of Cordell, Georgia. The family of Mother Fannie Mae Jones James of Cordell, Georgia, beloved church mother of the New Oak Grove Baptist Church. The family of Sumter County Sheriff's Deputy Larry James Bennett of Vienna, Georgia, would like to thank their many friends for the food, the flowers, the condolences, and all other expressions of sympathy and kindness shown to them during their hours of sorrow and bereavement during the past week. Mr. Roy C. Williams, Jr., age 83, of 114 Sullivan Drive, Americus, Georgia, died Thursday, November 12th, at the Phoebus Sumter Medical Center in Americus, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Roy C. Williams, Jr. was held Friday, November 20th, graveside at the Hardshell Cemetery in Pinehurst, Georgia. The Reverend William D. Harvey officiated. Survivors include a beloved daughter, Miss Cheryl Mann of Americus, Georgia, a loving granddaughter, Miss Felicia Mann of Americus, Georgia, a beloved great-grandson, Master Kevon Ferguson of Americus, Georgia, a host of cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survive. Mr. Roy C. Williams, Jr., age 83, of 114 Sullivan Drive, Americus, Georgia. Mr. Gary Mitchell, age 54, of 1209 South 15th Street, Cordell, Georgia, died Thursday, November 12th at Navison Health in Macon, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Gary Mitchell was held Saturday, November 21st, graveside at the Hardshell Cemetery in Cordell, Georgia. His beloved cousin, the Reverend William Gaines Ford, officiated. Survivors include his loving and devoted wife, Miss Myra Mitchell of Cordell, Georgia, his loving and devoted children, Miss Jalen Mitchell, Miss Jura Mitchell, Mr. Jasper Barron, all of Cordell, Georgia, Miss Janie Mitchell of Atlanta, Georgia, Mr. Dominic Mitchell and his wife, Mrs. Bobby Mitchell of Minnesota, his beloved grandchildren, a beloved sister, Mrs. Cynthia Clark Howard of Fayetteville, Georgia, his beloved brother, Mr. Tony Rouse, and his wife, Mrs. Eva Rouse of Abbeville, Georgia, his beloved mother-in-law, Ms. Rosa Ford of Cordell, Georgia, his beloved in-law, Ms. Jacqueline Ford, and her husband, Mr. Charlie C. Ford, Mrs. Salithia Davis, and her husband, Mr. Michael Davis, Mrs. Wanda Gordon, and her husband, Mr. Bobby Gordon, Miss Michelle Curry, Mr. Nicholas Curry, and Mr. Ladarius Curry, his beloved aunts and uncles, Miss Mary Pounds of Cordell, Georgia, Mrs. Ciola Ritchie, and Mrs. Mary Slaughter, both of Decatur, Georgia, Mrs. Sandra Lane and her husband, Mr. Myron Lane, and Mr. Roland Thompson and his wife, Mrs. Annette Thompson, and Mr. Forrest Thompson, all of McDonald, Georgia, Mr. Jen Thompson of Charleston, South Carolina, Mr. Melvin Thompson, and Mr. Sammy Thompson, both of Snellville, Georgia, Mr. Frazier Thompson and his wife, Mrs. Barbara Jean Thompson of Pitts, Georgia, and a host of cousins, to include a special cousin, Mr. Bobby Gaston of Tampa, Florida, his best friends, Mr. Sigro and Miss Tanisha Savage of Cordell, Georgia, a special friend, Mr. James Kimball of Savannah, Georgia, a host of other relatives, and many sorrowing friends survive. Mr. Gary Mitchell, age 54, of 1209 South 15th Street, Cordell, Georgia. Mother Fannie Mae Jones James, age 91, of 801 West 19th Avenue, Cordell, Georgia, beloved church mother of the New Oak Grove Baptist Church, died Saturday, November 14, at the Chris Regional Hospital in Cordell, Georgia. The funeral service for Mother Fannie Mae Jones James, beloved church mother of the New Oak Grove Baptist Church, was held Saturday, November 21st, on the grounds of her beloved New Oak Grove Baptist Church. The burial followed at the Bethel Cemetery in Cordell, Georgia. The pastor, Reverend W.W. Wilson, officiated. Survivors include 11 and devoted children, Mr. Charlie James Jr. of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Deacon Bobby James and his wife, Mrs. Yvonne James of Cordell, Georgia, Mrs. Patricia Paul, and Mrs. Betty Jean Walker and her husband, Mr. Willie Walker, all of Cordell, Georgia, Mrs. Louise Hicks and her husband, Mr. Timothy Hicks of Vienna, Georgia, Mr. Tommy James and his wife, Mrs. Linda James, and Mr. Sammy James, all of Cordell, Georgia. A beloved sister, Mrs. Bessie Mae Lewis of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. 25 beloved grandchildren, a host of great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren. Her beloved daughter-in-law, Mrs. Victoria James of Warner Robins, Georgia. A dear family friend whom she regarded as a daughter, Mrs. Connie James of Cordell, Georgia, a host of other relatives, and many sorrowing friends, to include Mrs. Janie Mae Miller, Mrs. Mamie Mapp, Mrs. Neat Wyndham, Miss Stillwell, and her beloved New Oak Grove Baptist Church family. survived. Mother Fannie Mae Jones James, age 91, of 801 West 19th Avenue, Cordele, Georgia, beloved church mother of the New Oak Grove Baptist Church. Sumter County Sheriff's Office, Deputy Larry James Bennett, age 54, of 307 East Pine Street, Vienna, Georgia, died Sunday, November 15, at the Phoebe Putnam Memorial Hospital in Albany, Georgia. The funeral service with sheriff honors for Sumter County Sheriff's Office, Deputy Larry James Bennett, was held Saturday, November 21st at the Vienna City Cemetery in Vienna, Georgia. The Reverend Dennis Perry officiated. Survivors include his loving and devoted wife, Mrs. Rose Marie Bennett of Vienna, Georgia. His beloved and devoted daughters, Mrs. Tara West Bennett of Decatur, Georgia, Mrs. Shalara Bennett of Unadilla, Georgia, Ms. Brittany Chanel Hodrick of Atlanta, Georgia, and Miss Cameron C. Wilson of Vienna, Georgia. His beloved grandchildren, Kelvin, Cater, Jaden, and Ison. Three beloved brother, Mr. Benson Bennett, and his wife, Mrs. Donetta Bennett, Mr. Edward Bennett and his wife, Mrs. Sharon Bennett, Mr. Willie Bernard Bennett, all of Vienna, Georgia. A beloved sister, Mrs. Michelle Buckholtz, and her husband, Mr. Rodriguez Buckholtz of Vienna, Georgia. His beloved mother-in-law, Mrs. Janet Felton, and her husband, Mr. Walter Felton of Lily, Georgia. His sisters-in-law, Mrs. Cynthia Bennett of Cordele, Georgia, Mrs. Vanessa Grove and her husband, Mr. Tim Grove of North Carolina, and Miss Laverne Felton, all of Cordele, Georgia. His brother-in-law, Mr. Keith Felton of Lily, Georgia. A host of nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survived. Sumter County Sheriff's Office, Deputy Larry James Bennett, age 54, of 305 East Pine Street, Vienna, Georgia. Again, the family of Mr. Roy C. Williams, Jr. of Americus, Georgia, the family of Mr. Gary Mitchell of Cordele, Georgia, the family of Mother Fannie Mae Jones James of Cordele, Georgia, beloved church mother of the New Oak Grove Baptist Church, the family of Sumter County Sheriff Deputy Larry James Bennett of Vienna, Georgia, would like to thank their many friends for all of the many kindnesses shown to them during the hours of sorrow and bereavement during the past week. May God bless each of you is their prayer. The J.W. Williams Funeral Directors serving Cordele and Vienna were in charge of each of these arrangements during the past week. And now, it is certainly with the deepest regret that we make the following announcements. retired educator, Deaconess Harriet Bowles Hoggerbrook, age 83, of 315 West 17th Avenue, Cordell, Georgia, died Monday, November 16, at the Chris Regional Hospital in Cordell, Georgia. Survivors include her loving and devoted children, the Reverend T. Nathaniel Hoggerbrook II and his wife, Mrs. Artis Hoggerbrook of Valdosta, Georgia, Dr. Natalie Smith and her husband, Mr. Jeffrey Smith of Smyrna, Georgia, Mr. Gregory Hoggerbrook and his wife, Mrs. Tammy Hoggerbrook of San Antonio, Texas, and Mr. Brian Hoggerbrook and his wife, Mrs. Ebony Hoggerbrook of Valdosta, Georgia. Her beloved grandchildren, Caleb, Ethan, Jacob, Justin, Kia, Leah, Nicole, Nathaniel III, Nicholas, Joe Anthony, Isaac, Bryce, and Banks. One great-grandchild, her loving sister, Miss Caroline E. Bowles of Cordell, Georgia. A host of nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survive. Retired educator, Deaconess Harriet G. Bowles Hoggerbrook, age 83, of 315 West 17th Avenue, Cordell, Georgia. The funeral service for retired educator, Deaconess Harriet G. Bowles Hoggerbrook, will be held today, Sunday, November 22nd, at 10 a.m., graveside at the Vienna City Cemetery in Vienna, Georgia. Her pastor, Dr. Dan James III, pastor of the Mount Zion First African Baptist Church, will officiate. Mr. Calvin Lester, age 65, of 6446 River Road, Byronville, Georgia, died Friday, November 13th at Navison Health in Macon, Georgia. Survivors include his loving and devoted sisters, Mrs. Minnie Florence James and her husband, Deacon Oscar James of Byronville, Georgia, Mrs. Sandra McKenzie and her husband, Mr. Monty McKenzie of Austell, Georgia, Mrs. Maggie Harris of Mooresville, North Carolina, Mrs. Ella L. Witcher of Jacksonville, Florida, Mrs. Joanne Sutton and her husband, the Reverend Johnny Sutton of Covington, Georgia, Mrs. Martha Lester Harris and her husband, Mr. Sonny Harris of Durham, North Carolina, and Mrs. Frances Gardner and her husband, Mr. Clifford Gardner of Vienna, Georgia. His beloved brothers, Mr. Robert Lester and his wife, Mrs. Bridget Lester of Germany, Mr. Charlie Lester of Upper Melbourne, Maryland, and Mr. Thaddeus Lester of Lilly, Georgia. His beloved aunt, Mrs. Annie Kate Neal of Jacksonville, Florida. His beloved nieces and nephews, Mrs. Shanita Collier Grace of Vienna, Georgia, Mr. Claude Cook of Stone Mountain, Georgia, Mrs. Karen Monique of Montezuma, Georgia, Mr. Kelvin Lester of North Carolina, Mrs. Beverly McKenzie of Albany, Georgia, Mr. Corey Bunyan of Grovetown, Georgia, Mrs. Gwen Young of Perry, Georgia, Mr. Sylvester Dumas of Montezuma, Georgia, Ms. Chris Simpson of Americas, Georgia, Mrs. Gloria A. Bostic of Macon, Georgia, and Mrs. Jackie Law Beard of Warner Robins, Georgia. A host of cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survive. Mr. Calvin Lester, age 65 of 6446 River Road, Byronville, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Calvin Lester will be held today, Sunday, November 22nd at 2 p.m. graveside at the Pleasant Hill Baptist Church Cemetery in Byronville, Georgia. His beloved brother-in-law, the Reverend Johnny Sutton, will officiate. Mr. Cleveland James Brown, age 83, of 1220 Sickford Drive, Tifton, Georgia, died Wednesday, November 18th at the Tiff Regional Hospital in Tifton, Georgia. Survivors include a loving and devoted daughter, Mrs. Avery Brown of Tifton, Georgia, several cousins, and a host of other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survive. Mr. Cleveland James Brown, age 83, of 1220 Sefton Drive, Tifton, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Cleveland James Brown, age 83, will be announced at a later date, pending the completion of the arrangements. Mrs. Lily Ruth Stretchen Dawson, age 84, of 1311 East 8th Avenue, Cordele, Georgia, died Friday, November 20th at the Chris Regional Hospital in Cordele, Georgia. Survivors include 11 and devoted children, Mrs. Lily B. Thomas of St. Petersburg, Florida, Mrs. Mary Brown of Brampton, Florida, Mr. Eddie Dawson of Cordele, Georgia, Mr. Willie Dawson and Mr. Curtis Dawson, both of Atlanta, Georgia, Mrs. Amelia Quar and Mrs. Brenda Johnson and her husband, Deacon Jimmy Johnson of Cordele, Georgia, Mr. Ricky Dawson of Decatur, Alabama, Miss Juanita Dawson and Miss Melinda Dawson, both of Cordele, Georgia, Mr. Darren Dawson of Atlanta, Georgia, and Miss Cynthia Dawson of Jacksonville, Florida. 84 plus grandchildren, 70 plus great-grandchildren, a beloved sister-in-law, Mrs. Mertis Dawson of Cordele, Georgia, a host of other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survive. Mrs. Lily Ruth Stretchen Dawson, age 84, 1311 East 8th Avenue, Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for Mrs. Lily Ruth Stretchen Dawson, age 84, will be announced at a later date, pending the completion of the arrangements. Mrs. Nora Victoria Turner Winslow, age 81, of 16154 Highway 230, Byronville, Georgia, died Saturday, November 21st at the Houston Medical Center in Warner Robins, Georgia. Survivors include her loving and devoted children, Mr. Julius Winslow, Jr. of Byronville, Georgia, Mrs. Jeanette Davis and her husband, Mr. Kenneth Davis of Perry, Georgia, Mrs. Denise Tarbert and her husband, Mr. Thomas Tarbert of Rochelle, Georgia, Miss Tammy Martin of Unadilla, Georgia, Mrs. Furlow Pryor and her husband, Mr. Terry Pryor of Montezuma, Georgia, and Mr. Jeff Winslow and his wife, Mrs. Vanessa Winslow of Atlanta, Georgia, a host of grandchildren, great-grandchildren, her beloved brothers and sisters, Mr. Cephas Turner of St. Petersburg, Florida, Miss Lois Rogers of Byronville, Georgia, Mrs. Annie Sutton and her husband, Mr. Otterly Sutton of Unadilla, Georgia, Mrs. Nettie LeGree of Rochester, New York, and Mr. David Turner and his wife, Mrs. Ann Turner of Doolin, Georgia. A host of nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survive. Mrs. Nora Victoria Turner Winslow, age 81, of 16154 Highway 230, Byronville, Georgia. The funeral service for Mrs. Nora Victoria Turner Winslow, age 81, will be announced at a later date, pending the completion of the arrangements. The J.W. Williams Funeral Directors, serving Cordele and Vienna, are in charge of each of these arrangements during this week. An out-of-area funeral notice, Mrs. Edna Vivian Boatwright Robertson, a native of Araby, Georgia, died Friday, November 20th in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Locally, she is survived by a beloved sister, Mother Evelyn Boatwright Lewis, and a host of other relatives. The Sylvain Funeral Home of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania is in charge of all arrangements. Friends, that conclude our funeral notices for this morning. And as always, we do remind you concerning our pre-funeral arrangements planning available at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home, with packages available with a single pay, a 3-year pay, and a 5-year pay. So please stop by and talk with us concerning your pre-funeral arrangements needs available at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home. And also whole life insurance is available at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home.
And now for our announcements. The New Poplar Spring Baptist Church extends to you a very cordial invitation to worship with them during their worship service held each Sunday morning at 9:45 a.m. You're also invited to join them on Wednesday evenings at 6:45 p.m. via conference call. The number is 253-993-3761. Again, that number via conference call is 253-993-3761. Pastor Johnny Dean is the pastor. You're invited to worship with the Greater Mars Tabernacle Baptist Church. Its conference call schedule is as follows. Sunday morning worship service at 9 o'clock a.m. Tuesday midday prayer, 12 o'clock noon. Thursday prayer meeting and Bible study is held at 6 o'clock p.m. The conference call number is 229-329-7611. Again, the conference call number is 229-329-7611. Mother Lucille Shazer, Church Mother, Deacon Arthur L. Parker, Chairman of Deacons, Dr. K.M. Williams is the pastor. The Emmanuel Missionary Baptist Church extends to you a very cordial invitation to pull up and praise with them each Sunday morning beginning at 10 o'clock a.m. They're located at 1818 U.S. Highway 41 North in Cordele, Georgia. Pull up and praise each Sunday, 10 o'clock a.m. Reverend Gregory Williams is the pastor. The Little Rock Baptist Church annual Reach Out and Touch free Thanksgiving Day meal will be served on Thursday, November 26th from 11 o'clock a.m. until 1 o'clock p.m. at the Crisp County Ag Center, located 110 13th Avenue West in Cordele. For more information, please contact Deacon Bobby Finn. Again, the Little Rock Baptist Church annual Reach Out and Touch free Thanksgiving Day meal will be served on November 26th from 11 a.m. until 1 o'clock p.m. And because of COVID restrictions, the meals will be prepared. You may pick them up and leave. Thank you. The Crisp County chapter of the NAACP will meet this evening at 4 o'clock p.m. at Blackshear Place. All past members and anyone interested in becoming a member is asked to please attend this meeting. Your voice and your support are needed and will be greatly appreciated. The annual cost for membership is $30. This afternoon, 4 o'clock p.m., Blackshear Place, the Crisp County chapter of the NAACP will meet for a meeting at 4 o'clock p.m. Everyone is cordially invited to attend. The Cordele Crisp Area Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance invites you to join them in prayer each Sunday at 6 o'clock p.m. for an hour of prayer for our nation and for the healing of COVID-19. The dial-in number is 657-390-4570. Again, call-in number is 657-390-4570. An evening of prayer with the Cordele Crisp Area Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance. Please join them each Sunday at 6 o'clock p.m. Pastor Johnny Dean is the host.
That concludes our announcements for this morning. Do pray that you would govern yourselves accordingly. Thank Reverend Owens for our announcements. And now for dedication. Our first election this morning is dedicated to the following: in loving memory of Miss Minnie Lee Parker, who would have celebrated her birthday November 2nd. Dedication requested by the Parker family. Gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Mr. Michael Stanford Dean, who departed this life November 8th, 2017. Dedication requested by the Dean family. Precious memory lingers still. In loving memory of Deacon Eddie B. Shazer, who departed this life November 11, 1996, and would have celebrated his birthday November 23rd. Dedication requested by his beloved wife, Mother Lucille Shazer. We all pause and remember the life and service of Deacon Eddie B. Shazer of the Greater Morris Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church, his pastor, Dr. K.M. Williams, Deacon Tommy Ford, and the entire membership. Pause and remember the life of Deacon Eddie B. Shazer. In loving memory of Mr. Willie Jr. Davis Sr., who would have celebrated his birthday November 11th. Dedication requested by Mrs. Mary Frances Davis. Precious memory lingers still. In loving memory of Mrs. Erica Nicole Harper, who would have celebrated her birthday November 16th. Dedication requested by the Harper and Royal families. Precious memory lingers still. In loving memory of Mr. Lorenzo Davis, who departed this life November 5th, 2012, and would have celebrated his birthday November 19th. Dedication requested by Mrs. Mary Frances Davis. Gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Mrs. Sarita C. Hinton, who departed this life November 19, 2011, dedication requested by her beloved children and grandchildren. Gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Mother Bobby May Fagan, beloved church mother of the Mount Olive Baptist Church of Warwick, Georgia, who departed this life November 23rd, 2017. Dedication requested by her beloved children, Gail, Lucy, Deacon Jimmy Fagan, the grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, and the entire Fagan and Butts family, gone but not forgotten, Mother Bobby Mae Fagan. In loving memory, Mr. Aaron M. Towns, who would have celebrated his birthday November 24th, dedication requested by the Towns family, gone but not forgotten. In loving memory, Mrs. Catherine Towns, who departed this life November 25th, 1998, dedication requested by her beloved children, Catherine, Mady, and Faye. In loving memory of Mr. Calvin Jones, better known as Pat, who would have celebrated his birthday November 26th, dedication requested by his beloved parents, Deacon Kelvin and Mrs. Rosemary Jones, Kenya Jones, his beloved grandparents, Deacon Arthur and Deaconess Mamie Robinson, and the 722 crew, gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Mr. Kelvin Jones, better known as Pat. Our first selection this morning is dedicated to the following. Happy 16th anniversary to our own Deacon Donald K. and Sister Alberta Hamilton, who will celebrate their anniversary Tuesday, November 24th. Dedication requested by their beloved children, the entire Hamilton and Rogers family, the members of the Gethsemane Baptist Church, and the staff and management of the J.W. Williams Funeral Home. Happy anniversary, Deacon Donald K. and Sister Alberta Hamilton. God continue to bless your union and keep it strong. Our first selection this morning is dedicated to the following. Happy birthday to Mrs. Helen Sanders, who celebrated her birthday Tuesday, November 10th. Dedication requested by the Sanders and Royals family. Happy birthday to Mrs. Aaliyah Harper, who celebrated her birthday Friday, November 13th. Dedication requested by the Harper and Royal families. Happy birthday to Mrs. Edna Mae Clay, who celebrated her birthday Monday, November 16th. Dedication requested by our beloved daughter, Mrs. Barbara Bryant, and the entire family. Happy birthday to Mrs. Edna Mae Clay. Happy birthday to Mrs. Lindell Westbrook, who celebrated her birthday November 18th. Dedication requested by our beloved husband, Mr. Willie King Westbrook, her children, Pamela and Derek Ray, Tamara Wilton Sharita Westbrook, her grandchildren, her beloved mother, Mother Sarah Roundtree, her mother-in-law, Mother Martha Ruth Westbrook, and the entire Westbrook and Roundtree family. Happy birthday to Mrs. Vanessa Patrick, who celebrated her birthday Saturday, November 21st. Dedication requested by our beloved husband, her children, grandchildren, and the staff of Taco Bell Cordial, where she is the manager. Happy birthday to Mrs. Vanessa Patrick. Happy birthday to Dr. Ruby Jackson, who will celebrate her birthday Monday, November 23rd. Dedication requested by the Mathis family and the Emmanuel Missionary Baptist Church family. Happy birthday to Mrs. Brenda Fletcher Green, who will celebrate her birthday Tuesday, November 24th. Dedication requested by our beloved husband, Mr. Wynn, her mother, Mother Minnie Fletcher, and the entire family. Our first selection this morning is dedicated to the following. Mr. A.B. and Miss Valerie Levant and family, Mrs. Eddie Mae Levant and family, Miss Dorothy Rose Jones and family, Mrs. Juanita Montford and family, Miss Patricia Turner and family, Miss Carrie Bell Levant and family, Mrs. Betty Jean Montfrey and family, Mrs. Bernice Pittman and family, Miss Gail Chanel and family, Miss Jerry Harvey and family, Miss Rosalind Oliver and family, Miss Katrina Jones and family, the Armstrong family, the Montfrey family, the Palmer family, the Hoggerbrook family, Miss Mary Kendrick and family, Mr. and Mrs. Ricky Hardeman and family, Mrs. Mary Frances Davis and family, Mr. Justin Colbert Jr. and family, Miss Shalana Donaldson and family, Miss David Cross and family, the Glenn family, Miss Willie Mae Leary and family of Hatley, Georgia, Deacon Earl Leary and family, Miss Patricia Leary and family, Mr. Eddie Leary and family, Mr. William Carter and the entire Carter family of Hatley, Georgia. Our first selection this morning next election this morning is dedicated to the following: Mr. Charlie and Mrs. Watine Jackson and family, Mr. Arnett and Miss Lisa Bryan and family, Miss Lavina James and family, Deacon and Mrs. Vette T. Crane and family, Pinehurst, Georgia, Miss Lily Crane and family, the Reverend Jesse and Miss Louise Watts and family, Miss Shantae Bowens and family, Miss Patsy Card and family, Miss Mary Taylor and family, Deacon and Mrs. Zachary Fields and family, Deacon James Smith and family, Deacon Tommy and Mrs. Gradine Ford and family, Miss Lucille Harris and family, Miss Mary Frances Davis and family, Mrs. Mary Taylor and family, Mother Jessie Ezel and family, Mrs. B.J. McGill, Mrs. B.J. Ezel and the entire staff of BJ's Diner, Mrs. Mother Waleem McGill and family, Mr. and Mrs. Judge Glenn and family, Miss Nettie Whitis and family, Miss Burrow Patrick and family, Miss Connie Passmore and family, Mr. Frederick Hardeman and family, Mr. Lonnie Walker and family, Miss Annette Stembridge and family, Miss Eddie Mae Cooks and family, Mother Jessie Kate Harmon and family, Mr. Donald and Miss Ruby Daniels and family, Minister Gardner and Miss Beulah Morgan and family, Mrs. Maggie Harmon and family, Miss Pearl Reed and family, Mrs. Fanny Bivens and family, Mrs. Mary Applin and family, Mrs. Martha Westbrook and family of Araby, Georgia, Miss Geneva Curry and family, Mrs. Minnie Redden and family, Mrs. Carolyn Jackson Hicks and family, Mr. Alvin and Mrs. Ann Ross and family, Miss Aletha Brown and family, Miss Burnell Werburn and family, Mr. Earl Passmore and family, Mr. Larry Passmore and family, Mr. Louis Harriel and family, Mrs. Yvette Sanders and family, Mr. Alvin Jones and family, Miss Rosa Rice and family, Deacon and Mrs. Grandy Ridley and family, Mr. Henry Wheeler and family, Mr. Ricky Smith and family, Miss Daphne Askew and family, Mrs. Minnie L. Passmore and family, the Reverend and Mrs. Dion Jones and family, Mrs. Aletha Askew, church clerk and trustee of the Newell Grove Baptist Church, Miss Stephanie Westbrook and family, Miss Cheryl Royal and family, Mr. Willie James Young and family, Mrs. Shirley Washington and family, Mr. and Mrs. Michael Dubreeze and family, Mr. and Mrs. Carl Westbury and family, Mrs. Mary Jo Oserby and family, Mr. and Mrs. Michael Dubreeze and family, Mrs. Charlotte Leonard and family, Mr. and Mrs. Franklin Jordan and family, the Reverend and Mrs. Arthur Jordan and family, Ms. Dorothy Nadine Young and family, Ms. Rosette Leggett and family, Ms. Dana Lester and family, Mrs. Jacqueline Wheeler and family, Mr. Kelvin Whitfield and family. It is certainly with the deepest regret that we make the following announcements. Retired educator, Deaconess Harriet G. Bowles Hoggerbrook, age 83, of 315 West 17th Avenue, Cordele, Georgia, died Monday, November 16, at the Chris Regional Hospital in Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for retired educator Deaconess Harriet Bowles Hoggerbrook, age 83, will be held today, Sunday, November 22nd, at 10 a.m. at the Vienna City Cemetery in Vienna, Georgia. Her pastor, Dr. Dan James III, pastor of the Mount Zion First African Baptist Church, will officiate. Mr. Calvin Lester, age 65, of 6446 River Road, Byronville, Georgia, died Friday, November 13th at Navison Health in Macon, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Calvin Lester will be held today, Sunday, November 22nd at 2 p.m. at the Pleasant Hill Baptist Church Cemetery at Byronville, Georgia. His beloved brother-in-law, the Reverend Janice Sutton, will officiate. Mr. Cleveland James Brown, age 83, of Tifton, Georgia, died Wednesday, November 18th at the Tiff Regional Hospital in Tifton, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Cleveland James Brown, age 83, will be announced at a later date pending the completion of the arrangements. Mrs. Lily Ruth Stretchen Dawson, age 84, of 1311 East 8th Avenue, Cordele, Georgia, died Friday, November 20th at the Chris Regional Hospital in Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for Mrs. Lily Ruth Stretchen Dawson, age 84, will be announced at a later date pending the completion of the arrangements. Mrs. Nora Victoria Turner Winslow, age 81, of 16154 Highway 230, Byronville, Georgia, died Saturday, November 21st at the Houston Medical Center in Warner Robins, Georgia. The funeral service for Mrs. Nora Victoria Turner Winslow, age 81, will be announced at a later date pending the completion of the arrangements. The J.W. Williams funeral directors serving Cordele and Vienna are in charge of each of these arrangements during this week. Our next and final selection for this morning is dedicated to the bereaved family whose loved one was laid to rest during the past week. The family of Mr. Roy C. Williams, Jr. of Americus, Georgia. The family of Mr. Gary Mitchell of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Mother Fannie Mae Jones James of Cordele, Georgia. Beloved church mother of the New Oak Grove Baptist Church. The family of Sumter County Sheriff Deputy Larry James Bennett of Vienna, Georgia. This selection is dedicated to the bereaved families whose loved ones will be laid to rest during this week. The family of retired educator Deaconess Harriet Bowes Hoggerbrook of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Mr. Calvin Lester, Byronville, Georgia. The family of Mr. Cleveland James Brown of Tifton, Georgia. The family of Mrs. Lily Ruth Stretchen Dawson of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Mrs. Nora Victoria Turner Winslow of Byronville, Georgia. Our program is dedicated to all of the sick and shut-in, to all patients in the local and surrounding hospitals, nursing homes, and rehabilitation centers, to our beloved ministers and their devoted family members, to all retired educators, to the men and women serving in our armed forces, both stateside and abroad, to all veterans, and to everyone who listens to our program on each Sunday morning. It's a pleasure for us to bring it to you. Our program goes out in memory of our past president, Dr. Napoleon Williams, who would have celebrated his birthday on November the 24th, gone but not forgotten. This selection goes out to my wife, Mrs. Calandra Wilkerson Parker, to my son, Jai Wilkerson Parker. This selection goes out to my mother-in-law, Mrs. Billy Ann Hall and family, to my sisters, Mrs. Maddie Mae Johnson, better known as Sister Girl, who celebrated her 80th birthday on November the 1st. Happy birthday, Sister Girl, and many, many more. To Mrs. Patsy Jackson, her husband, Mr. Jim Jackson, goes out to my brother, retired Chief Master Sergeant Norman F. Dexter, to his wife, Dr. Gwendolyn Maxine Dexter, and to Noble. This selection goes out to my nephew, Deacon Kenneth Smith, program chairman of the Greater Morris Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church, to our pastor, Dr. K.M. Williams, and to his wife, Sister Kathy Williams. Do invite you again this morning to worship with the Greater Morris Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church at 9 a.m. via conference call or visit Facebook Live. And the service will be held live on the grounds of the Greater Morris Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church, and you're invited. Our program this morning goes out to my neighbor, Mrs. Theron Jones. Hope she's feeling well this morning. To the Jones and Tarbert family, entire Tarbert family, Sister Dorothy Tarbert, Mr. Johnny and Mrs. Juanita Tarbert and family, Mother Easter May Byram and family, church mother of the Spring Hill Baptist Church, Deacon and Mrs. Johnny Perry and family, Vienna, Georgia, Miss Willie McGill and family, and to Mother Jessie Ezel and family. Again, to each and everyone who listens to our program on each Sunday morning, to our beloved Miss Easter May Sanders and family, Mr. and Mrs. George Felton and family. It's a pleasure for us to bring you our program. Program goes out especially to Deacon Shelton, to Deacon Ezel of Americus, Georgia, who celebrated his 90th birthday on yesterday with all his family and friends with a beautiful drive-through. So happy birthday to him and many, many more. Again, our program goes out to each of you. And again, we remind you to pay attention and abide by the CDC guidelines during this pandemic time, during COVID-19. Continue to wear your face mask, wash hands frequently, and protect yourselves and others, please. Please wear your face mask throughout your outside adventures, please. And certainly we would like to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving for this coming Thursday. Happy Thanksgiving, and do be safe. Our program goes out to our dear friend and brother, Deacon Jimmy Charles Mumphrey, and the entire Mumphrey family, Deacon and Mrs. Sam Mumphrey and family, and to the Reverend Johnny Bernard Dean and all of the members of church there, and wish each of you a blessed and happy Thanksgiving. God bless you.
Thank you for joining us this morning. We hope you've enjoyed our program. Tune in again on next Sunday morning. And remember, in your time of need, contact the competent, capable, and dependable staff at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home.